it's doors open day this weekend. So here we are at doors closed day. And this is the reason why the doors are closed. And they can see the damage that's now been caused to this building because of the incompetence of our councillors.
And what's the story with this building then? Why has it not been able to be worked on?
Well, what happened when I put a planning application in, I needed a relaxation for the internal staircase coming up here because they said that it was a fire escape and it needed to be enclosed. I said, it's not a fire escape, there's a fire escape down here. This area here, they said this is not a place of safety if the building goes on fire. And as you can see, it goes down and down and down and along and along and along. But they said this is not a place of safety. What happens if the river's in spate? And if you come here, you can see the height there of the flood prevention. Well, as you can see, my yard is higher than the flood prevention level. So even if the river is in spate, it's still a place of safety. But they wouldn't accept that. And this was due to corruption in the council, the mutual repairs corruption, and they moved all the personnel around. And I got a guy doing my plan reporting, whose previous job was inspecting roofs, and now he's got to do the plan reporting, and he's not got a clue, and he knows nothing about the nuances in the building regulations. So I refused to do it, and I held to my guns. So they brought in his boss, and the boss came in. Fire escape, Norrie, Rowan, I'm having nothing to do with it. Muir Somerville, his name was. So I sponsored the baboon at Edinburgh Zoo and called it Muir Somerville and took its picture and made it to Christmas cards and I sent it round all around his office because I just thought he was not being very nice to me. But then I discovered really it was experience that did it. I don't know if you remember when a child fell through the railings at an office block at Tallcross and died. And that's because the regulations hadn't caught up with the law. Office spaces had different regulation for the handrails on their staircases, where it had to be 4 inches for domestic and 6 inches for commercial. This being a commercial had 6 inches gap, and this kid had fallen through. So with that on his back, Muir Somerville went, I'm not getting involved in anything, he's not getting it. But then what I did, I started going around in places that had subsequently been given building warrants after me, which breached the regulations much more severely than I did. And I drew up a list of 20 places. And the first place I reported to them was Pizza Express in Stockbridge. And they had to close the restaurant and readjust all their fire escapes. And it still doesn't comply as much as what my one did. But I thought, if I keep doing this, I'm not going to have any pals in Edinburgh. And other places were proprietor-led organisations. And I didn't want to disrupt anyone else's business. That was making my point. So here we are. How about 16 years later, it's been like this. 8 years ago, on the last day of the school holidays, the kids had broken a stack of fire and burnt the roof off it. And I was in Spurtle going, oh, Norrie Rounds had a fire in his pub. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. I bet you it's a big insurance job. Well, I never claimed my insurance because my insurance started humming and hawing about this claim, that claim, a fire in an empty pub and all the rest of it. You can imagine the suspicions. I knew I was going to have a problem with insurance. So they just spent £250,000 putting an anti-Gormley statue in the water least just past me. So I thought, better tidy up the site. I'd put a cheap alternative on the roof and applied for a 6-year planning consent while I could sort out the insurance and all the rest of it. And it went to the planning department. The Green councillor said they were looking to refuse it, and the Labour councillor said, why don't we have a site visit? And the Green councillor who was chairing that planning committee said, no, I pass it every day, it's fine as it is. So here we are 8 years later, and it's still the same as what it was. But now it's had 8 years of rain pouring into it, and all the floors inside are destroyed now with the wet harry. And that's creative thinking from our councillor.
Who was the Green councillor?
I wouldn't like to mention his name. As I said earlier, this was the boundary between New Haven and Leith and Edinburgh. And when you crossed this bridge, this was for the Bowtows, as that's what they called the locals from New Haven. And if you were courting a girl from New Haven, you were a Leither, you didn't come across that bridge.
Is that right?